Okay. There you go. Just say, but how?
All right. We're going to call the meeting to order at 6:03. I apologize for the short technical delay.
I'm just sitting there.
I want to do roll call vote. Richard Black.
Here.
Janet Millerschmidt. Here. Ed Provo.
Here.
Jordan Parmley. Here. Peter Beasley.
Here.
Marilyn Rodman. Michelle Russell. I'm here. All right. We have called to order. Before we go into our business, we have received a request from Mr. Waller to make a 15-minute presentation to the Planning Commission relative to concerns he may have relative to stormwater from the RBT project. The record relating to the legal challenge of the Planning Commission's approval of the site plan and the challenge filed in Chancery Court is closed and the matter is on appeal. Accordingly, the requested presentation can make no difference in the litigation. While it is unusual for a request of this nature to be made in the interest of public participation and input, Mr. Waller's request has been granted, and he will be allowed a period not to exceed 15 minutes for that purpose. So I'm going to give you the floor, Mr. Waller.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to present to the Planning Commission this information. And it's my hope that the information will be useful to this commission and help it establish adequate means of protecting the citizens of Monteagle from pollution of their water supply, and also provide means, some information or guidance as to what maybe the Planning Commission needs to consider for future incorporation into the ordinance to provide protection against that pollution. So I will start with the PowerPoint presentation. This is a visual presentation. I hope you don't get a sprained neck looking at it. The dilemma we have in Monteagle is that there is an urgent need to require a developer to comply with the Monteagle ordinances to stop pollution of the town's primary water supply, Laurel Lake. Monteagle's water supply is being polluted at this time by a developer. Failure to require this developer to comply with the Monteagle ordinances will result in permanent pollution of Monteagle's primary water reservoir. Can everybody hear me back here?
Yes.
The Monteagle Regional Planning Commission decided on July 6th of 2021 that a developer had met all of the requirements of the Monteagle ordinances regarding rainwater runoff because the developer had been granted a general construction permit by the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation. The problem is the developer's site plan approved by the Planning Commission did not provide adequate means for eliminating pollution sources that could contaminate stormwater or removing pollutants from stormwater runoff from the site, preventing runoff from overloading the Monteagle storm sewer system, preventing runoff from flooding adjacent streets and properties, preventing stormwater from polluting a blue line stream and Laurel Lake, and avoiding numerous notices of violation from TDEC. TDEC notices of violation are illustrated by this example. A February 16, 2022 TDEC letter was sent to me, Lucy Keeble, Rodney Kilgore, and Marilyn Rodman. The subject was a formal complaint of the RBT Enterprises, in which violations cited in numerous TDEC notices of violation were: erosion prevention measures were not installed or were inadequate. Sediment control measures were not installed or were inadequate. Erosion prevention sediment control measures were not consistent with the stormwater pollution protection plan. Sediment was being discharged into the waters of the state. I'm going to run out of voice. I'm going to ask Lucy if she'll help me out here and read this section of the ordinance for me.
Monteagle Ordinance MTAS July 2016, Section 18-509. Sand, soil, and oil interceptors. All car washes, truck washes, garages, service stations, car and truck maintenance facilities, fabricators, utility equipment shops, and other facilities determined by waste control personnel that have sources of sand, soil, and oil shall install effective traps, interceptors, and oil water separators. These systems shall be sized to effectively remove sand, oil, and soil at the expected flow rates. These systems shall be at the owner's expense and cleaned or pumped on a regular basis to prevent impact from the wastewater collection system. Oil water separation devices shall be required at facilities that accumulate petroleum oils and greases and in all other facilities deemed necessary by the wastewater personnel ordinance 06-11, November 2011.
I'd like to do the next one too.
Okay. Monteagle Ordinance 2018, Chapter 10, Site Plan Requirements. 1008, Site Plan Content. Site plan shall contain the following components and information as applicable. The Planning Commission may require missing items be added or other corrections made as a condition for approval. 1008Q, plans for collecting stormwater and methods of treatment.
Yes, thank you. The site that we're talking about is the RBT tract, which is being worked on, has been worked on for about 2 years. As you can see, there are 3 major ponds on that site. The first pond here is connected to the second pond by an underground conduit. This one's connected to a wetland here, which would flow into the wetland and then go through another 18-inch diameter pipe into this trench down to a so-called settlement pond here. You can note that all 3 of those ponds are very silty with the runoff from the construction on the site. This pond right here I'll refer to as the entry pond because that enters, the flow goes through a pipe here into a trench which goes along Sampley Street and enters into the Monteagle storm sewer system through an 18-inch diameter pipe, goes under Sampley Street, goes across Main Street underneath to a catch basin and inlet in the parking lot of the post office. Then it goes underground north to another catch basin and inlet on the northwest corner of the post office. Then goes underground under Mabee Street and the lakeside collision property and outfalls into the Hidden Creek, which is a tributary of Laurel Lake, as I'll point out. This is a map of Monteagle showing the same thing. This is the proposed tract. When it leaves the entry point, that pond, it goes to this point and enters, dumps into the head of a stream, which is, I'm calling it Hidden Stream, Hidden Creek, because the name on the map is what it had there. But it flows all the way down underneath I-24. It joins another stream and flows into Laurel Lake right here. This is a satellite view, the same thing, shows the track here being worked on. It shows the entry pond, it shows the track of the flow as it goes down Hidden Creek under I-24 and eventually flows into the northeast end, actually it's starting right here, northeast end of Laurel Lake. Laurel Lake starts before the Laurel Lake Road. This is the pond. You can see that it's full, actually it's full above the top of the outflow pipe, so it has taken a lot of water and it's full of silt. So that water is going out through the outfall pipe into the ditch. And it also has silty water flowing over the silt barriers into a drainage ditch along Sampley Street. So the ditch is down at the bottom of the view, and that's flowing into the 18-inch diameter culvert, which you see right here. And you can see that all of this runoff from that property is full of silt. It's mud laden. Also, you get overflows from the, actually, I'm trying to get this to show. It overloads the sewer system and flows over ground. In this case, it flowed over the ground, overloaded the storm sewer system. This is Sampley Street flooded by water coming off of the RBG property.
Stormwater or sewer?
Stormwater. Yeah, stormwater, silt-laden stormwater.
Right.
And here you can see this, if we get it to stop. This is the water boiling up in the catch basin in the parking area on the south side of the post office. This is where it's entering Hidden Creek at the outfall of the Monteagle storm sewer system. It flows down Hidden Creek in the same condition, totally saturated with silt. This is one of our waterfalls on the creek, and you can see it's still silt laden. This is Hidden Creek, muddy water flowing under Interstate 24 through a box culvert. You can see it's still fully contaminated with silty water. And this is the entrance right here to Laurel Lake on the east side of Laurel Lake Drive. And you can see it's full of silt. And here's the water coming out of the conduit that goes under Laurel Lake Road. You can see the silt entering into Laurel Lake. This is Laurel Lake with a drive-by picture. This is another view of what it looks like after a good rain. You can see from the satellite views here that you have a steady stream of cloudy water entering into the clearer water of Laurel Lake. You can see that it has a little bit of backwater on this Little Laurel Creek. The source is not coming from Little Laurel Creek because that's clear up here. It is not clear on that side, and it's not clear in the lake itself. There's another view showing how it is pushing right down that stream into the water supply. Okay, that's mud going into the Laurel Lake, and although it said that we can deal with the silt on Laurel Lake. What's coming is a truck plaza with 115 truck parking slots. This is going to provide a different source of pollution, but be traveling the same path you just saw with the mud. There are 16 fueling stations, 10 acres of approximately of impervious pavement, which will not allow any water to go through the pavement into the ground. And as I pointed out in an earlier report presented to this committee, it's going to result in about 2 million gallons of rainfall runoff in about every 10 years. And not much less than that on an annual basis. So this is the plan. All these truck parking slots around the periphery of the property are pushing the limit of space available to provide any sort of treatment of the water for retention, bio-retention, or whatever. And the site plan for that was submitted did not have any oil separation at all. So we're talking about 115 trucks parked side by side, back to back. And we've got to assume that there's going to be oil and fuel spills that are going to be on that pavement that will wash into your water supply. Besides, you've got 16 fueling stations for cars and trucks, which in the developer's plan did not provide for any oil separators in case of a spill at the fueling stations. So we hope we don't end up with a water supply that looks like this with a lot of oil floating on the top. By the way, the difference between
5 seconds, Jim.
How?
5 seconds.
Please let him finish.
Now, this is our agreement. We cannot act on this. We cannot do anything with this. This was our agreement that we had together.
Any discussion or just your presentation?
We're not allowed to discuss it
Okay.
because it's in appeal. We're not allowed to
This
discuss
has nothing to
it.
do with a lawsuit. This can be discussed. if
We
you want.
are not allowed to discuss this.
How many people want to finish?
This is our agreement that Jim and I had, did we not?
That was the agreement.
Okay, that's all I'm saying. This was our agreement.
Go ahead, sit down, shut up.
Can't shut down.
Yeah.
I think he's made his point.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Jim.
President.
Thank you, Jim. I
Thank you,
appreciate
Jim.
it. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Wallace. All right, we're looking at approval of previous meeting minutes. Everyone have this in their packet. Was there any additions or corrections? Okay, I've got a motion, second. Okay, Richard's a second. All those in favor? Okay, all right, so we moved on, previous meeting minutes. Staff and committee reports, Dixie Lee Avenue. Dean Lake.
Well, everything's been approved. So
Everything's been approved.
These are staff, well, for Dean's site plan, it's been staff approved. For the Maxwell Estates, I sent back my revisions. I blind copied the whole PC, so you should have that in your email. And I haven't had anything sent back to me yet. And then just today, I reviewed they were combining lots for Bear Den subdivision, and I sent back my revisions today and BC'd the whole PC. So those are all staff reviewed.
All good.
PC doesn't make any, but I just need to let you know that that's going on.
Gotcha. All right, old business. Let's move to our fabulous IDA-IES model lighting ordinance.
I make a motion that they'll be tabled until the next meeting.
Okay, all those in favor? All right, we're gonna move that on. Nate and Anya and engineers will be working on this. All right, great. New business, rezoning request. Brian Masterson, there we go, well, let's do this again. Come on up.
Hello?
are you?
Good.
What is our request today?
The request is a rezoning of a parcel on Catherine Avenue from residential 1 to commercial 2.
Okay. Any comments from the development district?
So I included everything in the packet in my staff review, and all the neighboring properties have been notified. So I don't know if you want to ask if any one of those neighboring,
Tony's here, he's
Tony, you're a neighbor. Why don't you come up here? Do you have any comments?
I don't have any complaints with it going in. I'd just like to see it be a two-story instead of a single.
Yeah, if that's fitting for ordinance, was something we definitely look into.
I mean, I would like to see, like, the fence around it, like everything else is supposed to be, but, you know, if you're putting it in back there, man, just, you know, do the best you can, because I'd rather just talk to you than have them about what's gonna be done.
So what do you
Yes,
mean
sir.
by two-story? Why would you rather see it two-story?
If we're gonna put, I don't care if it's a three-story.
Well, I mean, you just said it, I'm just asking why.
You know, I say, I don't care what the man puts back there. It's his property. You know, let him put what he wants to back there. I'm not gonna oppose it.
Tony, how many more neighbors are there back there that it would have butt up to other than you?
Yeah, there's a couple of property owners back there. I think one is Rebecca Todd. I think she may be the only other one that's adjacent to the property.
Anybody else here that's a neighbor?
You said the letters have gone out?
for this parcel, yes.
Okay, so we've notified all of the adjacent landowners
Yeah, within 300 feet.
within 300 feet.
Mhm.
All right, and then we're gonna discuss, making recommendations for that whole street to
Mhm.
be
C2.
zoned correctly.
Yes.
Get it while we're there and move on.
Okay, so you're gonna explore that for us?
Yes.
Okay. All right, any questions for Mr. Masterson? Any other neighbors?
What happens next?
You would make a motion to recommend to city council to rezone that parcel.
Okay, I need a motion?
Even though the letters have just gone out?
No, Debbie, that was about another rezoning. That's gonna come to you in October, but I already sent all that information to Debbie back in early August. And they did go out.
So let a motion,
Tony,
change zoning.
hang on, Tony, did you get a letter?
Yeah, I got a letter.
Okay,
You're comfortable with it.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay, I want everybody good. Any other questions?
Motion to approve.
All right, motion to approve the rezoning from R1 to C2. And recommended to send it to city council. I've got a motion, I need a second.
I'll second.
Okay, Richard's a second, any discussion? All those in favor? All right, very good, ayes have it. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
One step down. Mountain Graphics site plan, I believe, got pulled.
Yes. Yeah,
So what do we do to pull that?
nothing. I should have taken it off the agenda, but I didn't.
Okay, so we don't have to do any motion, all right, so we're moving on. Our favorite accessory dwelling unit ordinance.
So based on our workshop from last month,
Right.
I made all the changes that we had discussed, and I included them in the packet. So if you don't know, I don't know if you had a chance to look through it, but,
Good.
We all looked through it, oh
great,
yeah.
perfect. Then that's all your changes included in there.
Okay, I saw all the changes that we mentioned. Did you guys see anything else that you didn't catch? Because it'll move to the city council if we recommend it, and they'll catch whatever's left. Okay. So we need a motion to recommend the ADU ordinance. Is that the correct?
Yes, to the city council.
To the city council.
Mhm.
Do I need a motion?
Yes, you can. Come on, guys.
Honey, let's
I have a motion that we
Thank
approve
you.
the ADU as written.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right, we recommend to move it on to the city council. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right. ADUs, moving on. Hey, here is a person having business before the commission. You got 3 minutes. Who wants to come up? Come on up.
Thank you, everybody, for your service, as always. My name is Mary Beth Best. I am a resident of Monteagle. I live at 521 Watson-Heiser Place, and I was here last month at the meeting, and I submitted to all of you a copy of a complaint that I sent to the city council as a courtesy, just to let you know, because it was kind of as in retrospect at looking at some things that we could have done better. But I did want to clarify something on that. The response to that was done, I didn't really get it, but the mayor chose to do that on social media and on kind of a bigger grand scale, but I just want to kind of do it in person. I want to address all of you some clarification. First of all, it was said that in the response that this was all a TDEC issue. Just to recap, the complaint that I issued was about flooding, and Mr. Waller just showed you some pictures. Same area, Dixieland and Sandplay, happened on July 31st through August 1st. I did copy all of you that were on the email, an email from Jennifer Inez with TDEC, that flooding and drainage issues are for the city of Monteagle to address. That is a stormwater permit only for construction. The city has to handle drainage and flooding. That was the complaint, has nothing to do with lawsuits. That was what I submitted to you guys, so I just want to clarify that. So that's in response to my complaint. I think the first complaint was issued with pictures August 1st, response August 17th, and then I'm responding to that today. So, anybody have any questions about that? You can read the email. And I think that's all I have to say about that. If you have any questions, you know where to find me, or across the park. Thank you.
Anybody else? Come on up. Nate, come on up.
Ed and I served on a committee that Mayor Robin put together to look at some of the codes and how to better enforce them and make them more clear. And one of the recommendations from that was to create a hard expiration date for building permits. And I think I sent you and Marilyn some proposed changes to the zoning ordinance on how we might address that, allowing for, currently our zoning ordinance says that building permits expire after 6 months. If there's no significant progress, the International Building Code allows the enforcement official to extend them one or more times as that person sees fit. I drafted some language that basically allows the zoning enforcement official to create one 6-month extension, but after no substantial progress has been made on the project after a year, that the project would then go back to the planning commission and need further site plan approval. Did you all get that email from me?
I did, but I wanted, it's not something that I put on the agenda, but now that you brought it for everybody, do you want to put it on there for October?
Yes, that was why I emailed it to you, so that it
I
could be on the
can't,
agenda
I
for
can't.
tonight.
It's gotta be a discussion of us wanting to move forward in that direction.
Okay.
Yeah,
So can we have that discussion?
Y'all can, yeah.
I got a question.
Sure.
I totally agree with what you're saying. We talked about this, we think it's the right thing to do. Janet had pulled up some interesting law in 2014 where the state gives anywhere from 3 to 5 years of a vesting period.
So that's different, and this does not affect the vesting
What we
period.
need to hear.
It doesn't affect Tennessee State Code. So vesting period, Title 13 of Tennessee Code annotated, talks about vesting period for developments, and it requires that certain milestones in the development be met over time, and it provides for a minimum of 3 years of the property investment. So that's allowing for use, but that's separate from a site plan and a new building permit, which is in the best interest of the town. For one, because if there's no activity after a year, there's time for the town to actually have different ordinances, and I know in this particular instance, we have now MTAS working on a stormwater ordinance for the town of Monteagle. So with now a year having passed and lots of things being talked about, it would be an opportunity, if we had this ordinance in place, to be able to revisit that.
Right.
It would also then mean that if after a year of inactivity, which is a lot of inactivity, the town could ask for a new building permit.
Let me take your question and look at Anna, Anya, and ask you, Anya, the state statutes overrun
Yeah,
or
but that's for
subjugate
site
the city of
plans.
Monteagle to them
You're talking about vesting periods for site plan approvals.
and building permits?
But that, it's only if, like, if the vesting period increases if a building permit isn't, approved, but you're just talking about building.
I'm only
permit.
talking about building permits and site plan. It shouldn't affect Tennessee Code annotated Title 13 at all. In fact, that could be explicitly put in there, that this doesn't affect any vesting. Because what we don't want to do is run afoul of state law. But we
Right,
do
that's
want
what
to,
worries me.
where we have an opportunity to make changes that are in the best interest of the town, to go ahead and make those changes.
Let's put it on the agenda for next, for 2 weeks, we're not 2 weeks out, I guess, right?
Yeah, we're about 2 weeks out. What does everyone feel? You guys want to put it on the agenda
No,
for
I
next
sent
week
it
and
to you
discuss
and
it,
to
or
Ira.
next month?
Planning Commission, so,
We need something to discuss. Yeah. Whether we can grab hold of a statement, something that we can look at, review, make amendments to, adopt, and vote on.
You're gonna have to define activity.
Right.
You said it hadn't been activity in a year.
So that's divided,
That's
that's
a vague
defined,
word.
that's actually defined already in our ordinance. It's also defined in chapter 13. So some of it is, it talks about site plan activity. Some of that is at the discretion of the building official. But after a 6-month extension, after 1 year, I think it should be fairly clear.
Now,
Because-
look-
because
I mean,
it's-
I know what no activity means, but it may be different for other people, so.
So I sent the mayor and I sent Ivan Michelle a draft of that about a month ago. So I can share that with whoever would like to see it, and we can work.
Well,
on
I
that.
just wanna
Yeah,
know-
Anya and I know good
Yeah,
advice.
we want to put it on the agenda. That was the question that I wanted to ask my people, is that something that we want to move
I
forward
would
with?
think so.
I think this
Discussing.
is important.
So what is the
Okay.
process for adding something to the agenda? I thought I was doing that. Okay, so I did send it to Ivan Michelle. a
Or
month
to
ago.
Anya,
So-
correct? Do you not send it to one of the two of y'all? Anya?
I didn't get it, but I also have been out of town for.
Yeah, I knew she was out of town, so I went ahead and sent it to Ivan.
But I am the one who puts together all the packets, so,
So I apologize.
it's okay. I mean, I was out of town, so I couldn't have done it anyway, but.
We'll get you on for the next, in 2 weeks or whatever.
Okay,
Could you send it to me when you get the chance, and then I can call you if I have any questions?
okay,
Okay.
thanks.
Point of information, Nate.
Appreciate it.
You referenced the building code. Yes, 6 months for the expiration, then how's it renewed? It has to be done in writing before the expiration of that permit, correct?
Yeah.
If you read the whole code?
Yeah, so I don't know how it was or was not done. I've researched that.
Point of information that the whole thing needs to be read, not just that, yes, he has the ability to extend for 6 months, but
Well,
it
our
has to be
zoning,
done in proper fashion.
the 6-month expiration is our zoning ordinance, so that's not the IDC.
Right, but the IPC was referred to in another complaint, and that specifically has criteria that the officer has to put in writing why he's extending that. And it should have been done, it should have been requested by the developer prior to the expiration of that permit.
So wait, this is all about RVT? Is that
No,
why you
no,
want to
this
bring
is-
it
no, This
forward?
is about permits.
No,
This is
that's
about
all.
permits. This goes into permits in general.
I mean, that's, so what you're telling me, this is about RVT. I
Well,
mean,
you wanna
it's
make it-
about,
you wanna
and
make
that's
it-
fine.
You wanna make it about RBT, let's make it
Well,
about.
What difference does it make?
Come
It
on.
doesn't make
Let's
it,
bring
but-
it up. Come on,
What
let's talk
difference
about
does
it.
it make?
I have a
Let's be
question.
open and transparent.
Question, I'm gonna direct it to you.
Okay.
It's my understanding that RDT has already gotten a extension on their initial building permit. Is that correct? Do you
I
know?
am not clear on that. I have not.
Does anybody know the answer to that?
What did you say?
I asked if RDT, Tetra, has gotten an extension on their building permit. I have been told that by people, but that's not verified.
That's what the codes, Debbie, the codes enforcement officer provided you with a form that, I apologize. So he's not here, but he had told us at the last meeting behalf.
Okay,
He's the one that's handling that.
that's what I'm sure.
He'll be at the meeting, what's the next meeting on the 26th?
Okay, so Nate, just get with Anya and whatever wordage that you and Ed, wanna put together, make sure that she has it, and then we'll get it on. I thought that it was something that we all wanted to discuss, so
Yeah.
we'll move it forward.
Okay, yeah, it was just a one-line change to our current zoning
Yeah.
ordinance.
It just, we'll discuss it next month, but I mean, with all of the supply chain issues, going on, there's always
Yeah.
issues. So that's my concern. All right, anybody else? All right, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, all those in favor? Let's do it.